Hello there, and welcome. Tonight, as the world around you gradually softens into stillness, I invite you to let your thoughts slow down. Let them walk, not run. Perhaps you are lying in bed, the lights dim, the fan turning with its soft rhythm, or the faint hum of a distant street weaving into your room. In this gentle half-light of wakefulness, we begin a journey, one that does not hurry but drifts like embers carried by the night air. Our subject is ancient, older than cities, older than kingdoms, older even than memory. It is the story of primal humanity, the first footsteps of our species, the fragile thread of survival that brought us here. Imagine, if you can, a fire burning in the darkness. It is not the neat, tamed flame of a candle or the steady blue gas flame of a kitchen stove. It is a wild, uneven flame, its edges licking the dry wood, sometimes collapsing into sparks, sometimes leaping higher than expected. Around it sit figures, your ancestors, my ancestors, our shared ancestors. Their eyes reflect the glow. The shadows on the cave wall seem alive, flickering as though the spirits of the night are moving with them. For them, this fire is not just a comfort. It is a fragile miracle. It keeps predators at bay. It warms the body against the merciless cold. It cooks food into nourishment. It is survival condensed into light. And so the first question arrives quietly like a whisper in the mind. What if the very first fire you ever saw was not simply warmth, but the line between life and death? Hold on to that thought. Let it flicker in your imagination, because it is with this flame that our story begins. We live in a world of electricity now. A world where the glow of a phone screen or the steady shine of a bulb has made fire almost symbolic rather than essential. Yet there was a time stretching thousands upon thousands of years when that orange glow was the axis around which everything turned. Without it, night was absolute. Without it, fear had no boundary. To understand the journey of humanity, we must return there to nights when the cold bit sharper, when silence was heavy, when stars looked endless and uncaring, and when one fragile flame meant continuity for the group. As you listen, you may notice your breathing slowing, as though your body already understands that this is not a tale of urgency but of patience. In the stillness of night, when the day's noise has withdrawn, the mind is more open to wander, and wandering is exactly what our ancestors did. They wandered across savannas and forests, across icy plains and stony ridges, driven not by maps but by necessity, by hunger, by hope. Every step was both risk and possibility. They did not know the vastness of the continents they crossed. They only knew the horizon ahead and the need to survive one more day. This opening is not meant to overwhelm you with facts. Instead, think of it as a soft lantern being lit, guiding you gently into a deeper chamber of thought. As you close your eyes, if you choose, you might picture a small cluster of humans, skin darkened by sun muscles, wiry with movement voices, quiet in the night. They do not yet have cities, they do not yet have written words, but they have the fire, and they have each other. They lean close, sharing warmth, sharing food, sharing whatever stories words can hold. That, in essence, is survival, not merely to endure, but to endure together. And now let us draw the curtain of imagination a little wider. Beyond the firelight, the world is not friendly. The growl of a predator might echo from the dark. The cold wind gnaws at exposed skin. The darkness itself feels alive, pressing inward. In such a place, the mind invents spirits, gods, explanations for why the night feels heavy and why the fire feels divine. Perhaps survival was always twofold: the physical act of staying alive and the spiritual act of finding meaning in the struggle. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, you need not struggle. You are safe in your room, safe in your warmth, safe in your time. Yet the echo of that ancient struggle is still in you. Each heartbeat carries it. Each breath carries it. The fact that you are here listening means that long ago someone kept their fire burning. Someone endured the hunger, the cold, the uncertainty. Someone believed the next day was worth reaching. The story of humanity's survival is written in the quiet persistence of countless unknown lives. So let us settle further. You may adjust your pillow, perhaps turn slightly, allowing the body to relax. As you do, let the idea of a campfire in the night settle into your imagination. Its warmth is soft. Its glow is steady. Around it are the earliest people, our ancestors, leaning closer, wrapped in animal skins, eyes reflecting the orange light. The flames crackle small sparks, drift upward, and vanish into the sky. Above them, the stars stretch uncounted the Milky Way like a river of ice. Between earth and sky, between darkness and flame, humanity breathes. That breath is your breath. That flame is your memory carried across time. This is not a tale that demands quick understanding. It is not a lecture, not a lesson, but a slow unfolding. We will in time ask questions. What tools did they shape from stone? What myths did they tell to explain thunder and stars? What choices kept them alive when others perished? But for now, let us simply rest at the edge of the firelight. Let us feel the first heartbeat of the story. The night continues. Outside your window, perhaps the sound of crickets or the wind, or the faint murmur of a city lingers. Inside this story, it is the same sounds of night, different in detail but identical in essence. The world has always had its background music. For our ancestors, it was the rustle of grass, the cry of owls, the distant thunder. For us, it is the hum of machines, the shuffle of cars, the murmur of voices. Yet beneath it all, the question is the same. How do we endure? How do we survive the night? And so part one draws gently to its close, not with a conclusion, but with an invitation. Imagine once more the fire. See the flicker, hear the crackle, feel the warmth. See the figures gathered close, protecting each other against the vast unknown. Let your mind rest there. This is where our story begins, in the fragile miracle of survival, in the warmth of light against the endless night. What if we pause here at the edge of the firelight and ask a question so simple that it seems almost childlike, yet so vast that no answer is ever enough? What kept us alive? It is a question that lingers softly like smoke rising from embers. Not a demand, not an exam to be solved, but a wondering. If you close your eyes, you can almost hear it whispered through the ages, from the mouths of the first wanderers to the thinkers of today. For every ancestor who fought against hunger, for every mother who carried a child through the cold, for every elder who passed down a story, the same question echoes: how, against all odds, did we survive? We could say it was fire. That first miracle of warmth that kept predators away and bellies full. And yet fire alone was not enough, for fire can die out. We could say it was tools, the chipped stones, the sharpened spears. And yet tools break, and without hands to wield them, they are just fragments of rock. We could say it was the mind, the ability to imagine, to plan, to hope. But minds too can falter, can grow, afraid, can forget. No single answer seems complete, and so the question remains open like the night sky. What truly kept us alive? As we wander through this thought, imagine yourself not as you are now, but as you might have been 30,000 years ago. The world is colder. The forests are wilder. The animals around you are not just companions in books or images on screens. They are immediate presences, some threatening, some useful, some both. You are small compared to the mammoth, fragile compared to the cave bear, slower than the wild horse. And yet somehow it is you, not them, who will endure. Why? Perhaps survival was never about strength. If it had been, the mammoth would still roam, the saber-tooth would still hunt. Perhaps survival was about adaptability, about the quiet genius of bending rather than breaking, the ability to look at stone and see a blade, the ability to notice which berries poison and which heal, the ability to work together, to share meat across the fire, to watch each other's children when danger loomed. Survival then might not be one thing, but a woven fabric of many threads, each fragile alone, but together strong enough to carry us through. And there is something gentle in recognizing this. It is not the heroism of one, but the persistence of many. Not the loud triumph of conquest, but the quiet continuation of care. Each ancestor did not know they were building a future. They only knew they must keep the fire burning for one more night, carry the water for one more mile, protect the children for one more day. The extraordinary is often hidden in the ordinary. As you breathe now slowly, perhaps you feel the softness of your blanket, the steadiness of your pillow. In that comfort, imagine the opposite, a night of bitter cold, no roof, no walls, only stars above. What would keep you alive? Would it be the warmth of someone beside you, the memory of food tucked away, the knowledge of which path leads to water? In truth, it is all of these and the mystery that they combine into something larger. Our question lingers because it is both scientific and spiritual. Science can trace bones, tools, and DNA. It can say these adaptations, these migrations, these diets helped us survive. But spirit asks, what did it feel like to them? Did they believe they were protected by gods or ancestors or fate? Did they look at the dawn and whisper, gratitude simply for waking? Survival is not only measured in bodies enduring, but in minds. Finding meaning. Without meaning, endurance becomes hollow. With meaning, endurance becomes a story that carries forward, that teaches, that comforts. So let us ask again, softer this time, what kept us alive? Could it be story itself? Imagine a child trembling at the sound of thunder, comforted when an elder explains that it is the voice of the sky. The explanation may not be literal, but it soothes. Fear subsides, hope rekindles. Story keeps courage alive, and courage keeps survival possible. In that sense, myth and narrative were as vital as spear and fire. They gave shape to fear, and by naming fear, they made it endurable. And perhaps you notice now as you lie in stillness that you too survive by story. The story you tell yourself about tomorrow, about who you are, about what matters, these are the fires you keep alive. Even in the modern world with all its walls and lights, you remain a storyteller at heart. The same flame that flickered in caves flickers in your imagination tonight. Let us not rush toward an answer. The beauty of a central question lies in its openness. Like the night sky, it cannot be contained in one glance. Instead, we let it stretch, let it breathe. Fire, tools, mind, story, community. Each is a star in the constellation of survival. Which star shines brightest depends on the angle you look from. But together they form a picture, a pattern that guided us through millennia. And so, as part 2 draws onward, let us simply rest in the asking, what kept us alive? Do not try to solve it, only feel it. Feel the flicker of possibilities. Feel the humility of realizing that you exist because countless others before you, nameless and forgotten, endured. The question does not end here. It continues woven into every step of the journey we will take. For now, close your eyes a little deeper and let the words drift like smoke into the night. The fire still burns. The question still glows. And the night, vast and endless, listens. Before we go deeper into the vastness of time and the mysteries of survival, let us pause for a moment, not in the caves of our ancestors, not under the frozen stars of the Ice Age, but here where you are now. Because even though this story is about humanity long ago, it is also about you listening tonight. The thread of survival is not just history, it is living in your breath, your heartbeat, your quiet thoughts. So, let me ask you gently, where are you as you listen? Are you lying in bed perhaps with a soft pillow beneath your head, a blanket tucked around you, the faint glow of a lamp or a screen casting dim light into the room? Maybe you are listening in the late hours when the rest of the world feels asleep, or perhaps it is early morning, a grey sky outside your window, and birds just beginning to stir. Wherever you are, pause to notice it. Notice the stillness of the moment. Notice how, for a little while, you have chosen to let your mind drift into a story of long ago. Our ancestors, too, listened to stories at night. Around the fire with shadows dancing on stone walls, someone would speak, maybe with words, maybe with gestures, and others would lean closer. In that moment, they were not alone. And you tonight are not alone either. Across time and across distance, you are sharing in the same act. Listening, imagining, connecting. The story links us like a bridge of sparks across the dark. Take a breath here, in and out. Feel your body resting even as your mind walks gently through these images. There is no rush, no need to hold on to every detail. The story is not a task. It is simply a companion sitting quietly beside you, keeping you company as you drift into stillness. And now, while we linger in this pause, let me invite you to something small but meaningful. If you find comfort here, if these quiet journeys into history and imagination help you rest, you might choose to stay connected. You might choose to return again. Perhaps you can follow or subscribe or share this space with someone else who seeks gentle stories at night. This is not an obligation, only an invitation, like offering a place by the fire to another traveler. The circle is always warmer when it grows. But before you decide, just rest in the thought of it. Picture that fire again surrounded by people who lean closer as someone speaks. Each voice, each presence adds to the warmth. In the same way, each listener here adds to this space. By being here, you are already part of something larger, a quiet community of curious souls, all seeking rest, all seeking wonder. And perhaps you feel a small shift inside a recognition that survival is not only about the distant past, but about now. To rest, to breathe, to find comfort in the night, that too is survival. The body heals when it rests, the mind softens when it is soothed. You are continuing a practice as old as humanity itself, gathering around a story to make the night gentler. As you listen, maybe adjust your position. Let your shoulders relax, unclench your jaw, let your hands grow heavy. Every part of you is allowed to soften. You are safe here, safe to imagine, safe to drift. Outside, the world continues. Cars may pass, winds may blow, clocks may tick, but inside this moment, you are wrapped in stillness. It is enough. And so this part of the journey is not filled with facts or questions, but with connection. The reminder that even across thousands of years, we meet our ancestors in the same way, through breath, through firelight, through story. You and I may not see each other, but in the act of sharing these words, a bridge is built. Like two figures on opposite sides of time, holding the same ember, the flame continues. If you feel gratitude for that, you might let it rest gently in your heart. Gratitude for the warmth of your blanket. Gratitude for the quiet of this moment. Gratitude for the countless lives before you who endured, so that you could be here now. And if you feel moved, you might let others know through a comment or a message, or simply by keeping the fire alive within yourself. There is a rhythm in survival, and that rhythm continues in the choices we make tonight. Choosing to rest instead of to worry. Choosing to listen instead of to hurry. Choosing to share instead of to hide away. Each small act echoes the larger story of humanity to survive, not alone, but together. So as part 3 closes, let us rest in that feeling of connection. You are not alone in this night. You are part of a story that stretches back to the first fire and forward to every dawn yet to come. And if you wish to keep walking with me through this gentle path of science and myth and memory, then let us continue together. Like travelers across time, we will keep the flame alive. Close your eyes a little deeper now and imagine that time itself is stretching out before you. Not the minutes that pass on the clock by your bedside, not the hours that mark a day's work or a night's rest, but a time so vast that it makes human life seem like a single heartbeat. This is deep time, the endless clock of Earth ticking in rhythms far beyond our own. The story of humanity cannot be told without first listening to the story of the planet beneath us. For long before we walked the Earth, long before we struck stones together to spark fire, the Earth had already lived through ages upon ages. Mountains had risen and crumbled. Oceans had formed and disappeared. Continents had drifted like silent ships across the planet's surface. Creatures had come and gone, some towering, some tiny each, playing their part in the ever-turning cycle of existence. Deep time is humbling. Imagine standing on a beach and picking up a stone smooth and grey in your palm. That stone may be hundreds of millions of years old, older than the first humans, older even than the mammals we descend from. It has witnessed worlds we can only dream of, forests of giant ferns, seas filled with creatures without bones, skies lit by stars long since gone, and yet the stone does not hurry. It waits. It changes slowly, patiently, as if time itself is its companion. Compared to that patience, our lives are quick as sparks. A human life 70-80 years barely registers on Earth's endless clock. Even all of recorded history, with its empires and revolutions, its discoveries and disasters, is but a fleeting second. The pyramids of Egypt, the Great Wall of China, the first printed book, the first electric light, All of these events are recent whispers when measured against the scale of geological time. And yet, within that vastness, humanity has carved out its fragile place. We were not given eternity to find our way. We were given only the briefest of windows. The ice ages came and went. Climates shifted. Species flourished, then vanished. Somehow in this shifting stage, humans endured. The very brevity of our existence makes it miraculous. Deep time also teaches us perspective. The problems of today, though heavy, are still moments in the flow of a river that stretches beyond sight. This does not make them unimportant, but it helps us see them as part of something larger. To the earth, empires are seasons. To the earth, languages are passing winds. To the earth, even mountains are temporary. And yet here we are breathing, listening, wondering. Our survival is not measured in millions of years, but in the continuity of each night, each day, each story passed down. So imagine now that you are drifting upward far above the earth, high into space. Look down at the blue and white marble turning slowly below you. Watch the continents drift not over hours, but over millions of years. Africa and South America once joined drift apart. Ice spreads, then retreats. Forests rise, then wither. Life adapts, transforms, vanishes, returns. And then just in the last moment of this cosmic film, humanity appears small figures, walking upright, lighting fires, crafting tools. We are the latest note in a symphony that has been playing for billions of years. Deep time reminds us that survival is not just about strength or cleverness. It is also about timing. We appeared not too early, not too late, but at a moment when the earth allowed us. The climate, the resources, the balance of ecosystems, everything had to align for us to thrive. It is as though the earth itself opened a narrow door, and through that door humanity stepped. As you lie in your bed, you may notice your own smallness within this endless clock, and rather than feeling frightened, perhaps you feel soothed. To be small is to be free from the weight of carrying everything. The earth carries us. The stars carry us. We are only asked to live our brief lives gently, gratefully, attentively. Deep time will continue whether or not we rush. The mountains will shift, the seas will rise and fall, the stars will burn out. And yet in this moment you are here. That is enough. Take another breath, in and out. Let the rhythm of your breathing become like the rhythm of the earth, slow, steady, patient. With every inhale you gather the warmth of the fire. With every exhale you release into the vastness of time. In that rhythm, the line between then and now begins to blur. You are both yourself and your ancestor, both the listener in bed and the wanderer beneath the stars, both fleeting and eternal. So let us carry this perspective with us as we move forward. The survival of humanity is not an isolated miracle. It is part of a greater pattern, a symphony of time and change. We are the children of deep time, shaped by mountains, by rivers, by storms, by fire. To survive was to dance with the rhythm of the earth, to listen to its endless clock and find a way to keep step. And as part 4 draws to its gentle close, the fire of our story still burns, the clock of earth still ticks. And we, small though we are, continue to breathe within it. The night stretches on timeless and vast, and we are held within its embrace. Let us now come closer again, away from the vast scale of continents and millennia, and focus gently on the simple building blocks that allowed humanity to survive. For survival is not a grand, distant mystery alone. It is also small, immediate, and tangible. It is warmth. It is food. It is water. It is shelter. These are the elements of survival, the threads that wove together to carry us through the long night of prehistory. Imagine the first spark of fire. Perhaps it was lightning striking a dry tree. Perhaps it was volcanic flame spilling from the earth. However it came, there was a moment when someone curious, cautious, trembling approached it. They reached out, not with bare hands, but with branches carrying the flame, feeding it, protecting it. In that moment, fire became not just an element of nature, but a companion. It was fragile, like a newborn needing constant care. And yet it gave back in abundance, warmth against the cold light, against the dark safety, against the growl of beasts. Fire turned raw flesh into cooked nourishment, making food safer and easier to eat. With fire, nights lengthened, With fire, the impossible became possible. But fire was only one thread. Another was water. The knowledge of where rivers ran, where streams bubbled, where rain gathered in hidden pools, this was life itself. Without water, the body fails within days. For early humans, the memory of water sources was as vital as any tool. They followed rivers not only for drinking, but also for the plants and animals drawn to them. A river was more than a path of water. It was a path of survival, a line on the landscape that guided migration. Even today, if you close your eyes and listen, you may hear the faint memory of a stream steady, continuous, like the heartbeat of the earth. Shelter, too, was essential. A cave, a hollow tree, a hut of branches and hides, each gave protection not only from cold or rain, but also from fear. To have walls even of stone or wood is to carve out a pocket of safety in a world that often felt overwhelming. Imagine the relief of stepping into a cave, after days of wind and snow, lighting a fire at its entrance, hearing the storm outside, but knowing at least for one night you were safe. Shelter was more than protection. It was rest, and rest was survival, for only in rest could the body heal and the mind regain strength. And then there was food. Not the abundance of markets or kitchens, but the fragile balance of hunting, gathering, and sharing. Berries plucked from bushes, roots dug from earth, meat carved from a hunted animal, fish caught in rivers. All of these were victories, each one earned. Every bite was precious, every meal uncertain. To eat was not routine. It was a triumph. Food gave strength to walk another mile, to hunt another day, to tell another story around the fire. Without it, hope faded quickly. With it, life continued. These elements, fire, water, shelter, food, might seem obvious now, taken for granted in the modern world. Yet in the deep past, each was fragile. Each had to be found anew each day. There were no stores, no taps, no switches. Survival meant knowing how to coax sparks from stones, how to follow the tracks of animals, how to recognize the scent of rain in the air. It meant memory, skill, and patience. It meant living in rhythm with the earth, not apart from it. Perhaps you can feel the echo of this in your own body. The warmth of a blanket is fire remembered. The glass of water by your bedside is river remembered. The walls of your room are cave remembered. The meal you ate today is hunt and harvest remembered. You are surrounded by the same elements, only transformed, softened by centuries of learning and invention, and yet the foundation is unchanged. We survive still by fire, by water, by shelter, by food. Let us pause here, breathing slowly. Inhale and imagine drawing in the warmth of fire. Exhale and imagine releasing into the coolness of water. Inhale again and feel the security of shelter. Exhale and remember the nourishment of food. In this rhythm, you are not separate from the past, but connected, part of the same continuity. Science tells us that mastery of fire may have begun nearly 1 million years ago. That control of water meant migration routes across continents, that shelters became more complex over time, from caves to huts to villages, that hunting and gathering created the first patterns of cooperation, as meat was shared not only within families, but across groups. But beyond the data, there is the feeling of it, the relief of warmth, the gratitude for water, the comfort of walls, the joy of eating. These feelings are as old as humanity itself. And so when we ask how we survived, the answer begins here with these foundations. They are not glamorous, they are not heroic, they are simple, but they are everything. They taught us humility, taught us dependence, taught us to look at the world not as something conquered, but as something partnered with. The earth gave and we received. The balance was delicate, but it held. As you drift now toward deeper rest, hold these images softly in your mind. The fire crackling, the stream flowing, the cave sheltering, the meal nourishing. These are the roots of survival, the reasons we are here at all. And as the night continues, we will follow these roots into the branches of myth, of philosophy, of imagination. But for now, let us simply honor the basics. For in honoring them, we honor every ancestor who tended a flame, carried water, built shelter, and shared food. Without them, there would be no story to tell. The elements of survival remain with us. They always will. and they whisper still, reminding us that life is both fragile and resilient, both simple and profound. In every sip of water, in every bite of food, in every roof above us, in every warmth, we feel the story of humanity continues. Before there were books, before there were carved tablets, before even the first scratched symbols on cave walls, there were stories told in the dark. They were not written but spoken, not preserved on paper but carried in breath and memory. Around the fire, with shadows flickering on stone, the first humans shared the oldest gift of all story. And those stories were not entertainment alone, they were survival. Imagine a child frightened by thunder echoing across the mountains. The storm feels like a monster, its roar shaking the night. An elder leans down, voice, steady eyes reflecting firelight, and says, "That is the sky speaking. The gods are awake." The explanation may not be true in the scientific sense, but it soothes the child. Fear softens, courage returns. In that moment, myth becomes a shield, a way of transforming chaos into meaning. Myths were our first science, our first philosophy, our first lullabies. They explained why the sun rose, why rivers flowed, why the seasons changed. They offered not only answers, but also comfort. To believe that the fire was a gift from the gods, or that the hunt was blessed by ancestors, was to feel less alone in a dangerous world. Even the act of telling a story was itself a survival skill, weaving community together, ensuring that knowledge passed from one generation to the next. Think of Prometheus, the figure from Greek myth who stole fire from the heavens and gave it to humans. Though this story was told thousands of years after the first flames were mastered, it carries the same truth. Fire is divine, miraculous, a gift that separates life from death. In many cultures, similar myths exist, tales of animals who brought fire in their mouths, or of spirits who revealed its secret. Each culture framed fire not as a simple discovery, but as a sacred inheritance. And it was not only fire. Stories explained the hunt. Among some peoples, animals were not just prey, but spiritual beings honored in ritual and song. A deer might be thanked before it was eaten, its spirit imagined as returning to the forest to be reborn. Such stories did not simply comfort, they shaped behavior. They taught respect for the balance of life, a lesson as crucial to survival as any spear or knife. Symbols too emerged. The cave paintings of Lascaux and Chauvet in France, the handprints left on walls in Argentina and Indonesia, these were more than decoration. They were statements of presence. We are here. We endure. Perhaps they were prayers, perhaps guides for the hunt, perhaps simple expressions of awe. Whatever their purpose, they remind us that survival was never only about the body. It was also about the spirit, about leaving a mark against the vast silence of time. Close your eyes now and imagine yourself among those early storytellers. You sit in the circle of firelight, listening as an elder gestures toward the stars. Their voice is soft, rising and falling with rhythm, and though you may not understand every word, you feel the meaning. The story explains why the moon waxes and wanes, why wolves howl, why people must share food. Each tale is a thread binding the group together. The night feels less empty when filled with stories. The darkness feels less frightening when given shape. Even today, you carry those myths within you. When you see lightning, you may know the science of electricity, yet still feel the ancient awe of the sky split open. When you gather with others to tell stories around a campfire at a dinner table in whispered conversations before sleep, you repeat the ritual of survival. Words become warmth. Symbols become memory. Story becomes life itself. Science studies fossils, bones, and tools. But to truly understand survival, we must also study myths. They reveal the inner world of our ancestors, their fears, their hopes, their attempts to find meaning. Without myth, survival would have been only endurance, a mechanical act of breathing and eating. With myth, survival became story, a reason to continue. And sometimes a reason is the most important tool of all. Take another breath here. Inhale, as though drawing in the glow of firelight. Exhale as though releasing into the vast night sky. In this rhythm, you are doing what your ancestors did, using imagination to soften fear, using story to guide rest. Perhaps this is why you are here listening now, to let story become a companion, to let myth cradle you into calm. The first myths were survival manuals disguised as wonder. They taught which plants to avoid by weaving tales of spirits that cursed them. They explained migration by telling of ancestors who walked across mountains to follow the stars. They gave moral lessons by showing what happened to those who disrespected the balance of life. In story form, knowledge became unforgettable. It was easier to remember that a red berry was poisonous when it was said to belong to a jealous spirit. It was easier to recall the path to water when it was described as a gift from the river god. Myth was not separate from survival. It was survival woven into words. And so, as we linger in this part of our journey, let us honor those first stories. Let us honor the myths and symbols that turned fear into meaning, chaos into patterned silence, into song. For without them, humanity might not have endured. We are not only toolmakers, not only firekeepers, but storytellers. That is how we survived the long night. As part 6 comes to its close, imagine once more the flicker of shadows on cave walls, the sound of voices weaving tales, the sense of safety that comes not only from fire, but from words. You too are part of this lineage. You too carry stories into the night. And as you rest now, may those stories keep you warm as they once kept our ancestors alive. When we imagine the survival of early humans, it is tempting to picture only the fire, the hunt, the shelter. But beneath all of these immediate struggles lay a larger force, the shifting climate of the earth itself. Seasons were not only the passing of months, they were ages, vast swings between ice and warmth, drought and rain. And it was within these changes, sometimes slow, sometimes sudden, that humanity learned to move, to adapt, to migrate. Picture the Earth 70000 years ago. Vast glaciers stretched across the north sheets of ice so thick they carved valleys and shaped mountains. In Africa, where our species first emerged, the land shifted between green abundance and dry scarcity. Rivers that once flowed strong would vanish into dust. Forests would open into grasslands, and grasslands would wither into desert. To live in such a world was to live in constant uncertainty. Where there was once food, there might now be famine. Where there was once water, there might now be emptiness. And so survival demanded movement. Migration was not a choice made lightly, nor was it a single event. It was an ongoing rhythm of following the land, of reading the signs of change, of walking toward hope, even when the destination was unknown. Our ancestors became wanderers not because they sought adventure, but because the earth itself insisted. The climate shifted, and with it, people shifted too. Science shows us traces of these journeys. DNA studies tell us that all modern humans can trace their ancestry back to Africa, to small bands of people who left that cradle tens of thousands of years ago. They crossed deserts, rivers, and mountains. They walked along coasts following the rhythm of tides. Some turned toward Asia, others toward Europe, still others across islands that would one day lead to Australia. Each step was survival, each path, a thread in the tapestry of migration. Imagine a small group at the edge of a desert, the sun harsh, the wind dry. Behind them, the land has failed, too little rain, too little food. Ahead of them, uncertainty. And yet they walk. Perhaps they carry embers wrapped in leaves to keep fire alive. Perhaps they carry children on their hips, elders leaning on carved sticks. Every step is heavy, but every step is necessary. To stop is to perish. To move is to hope. Migration shaped not only where humans lived, but who humans became. Different landscapes demanded different skills. Those who settled near rivers learned to fish. Those who lived in forests learned to track animals through shadows. Those who braved the cold tundra learned to sow furs to build shelters against the wind. Each climate taught a lesson, and each lesson became part of humanity's knowledge. Survival was not a single strategy, but a mosaic of adaptations, each one suited to a different world. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine watching the Earth from above, not in days or years, but in millennia. You would see glaciers advance and retreat like slow breaths. You would see deserts bloom with green, then fade to sand. You would see forests spread, then burn, then grow again. And across this shifting canvas you would see small figures moving, always moving, seeking places where life could continue. That movement is your inheritance. The reason you exist now is because your ancestors at some point decided to keep walking. Migration also brought encounters with new lands, new animals, and new people. Some encounters led to conflict, others to cooperation. The meeting of Neanderthals and Homo sapiens in Europe left traces still present in our DNA today. In Asia, Denisovans contributed their legacy as well. Survival was not always about replacing, but sometimes about blending, learning, absorbing. Each meeting was part of the long story of what it means to be human. And through it all, climate remained the silent force shaping the path. When ice closed one route, people found another. When drought emptied one valley, people followed rivers to greener plains. The earth was not static, and neither were we. Adaptability became our greatest strength, not the sharpest claw, not the fastest speed, but the willingness to change, to move, to learn. As you lie in stillness tonight, think of the journeys within your own body. Your heartbeat has traveled from infancy to now. Your breath has carried you through countless days. In the same way, humanity itself has walked across deserts and seas, carrying the fragile flame of survival forward. Migration is not only a fact of history, it is a metaphor for life itself. To live is to move, to adjust, to seek what sustains us. Perhaps you feel gratitude for this as you rest beneath your blanket. Gratitude for ancestors who faced winds colder than you will ever feel, deserts harsher than you will ever cross, oceans wider than you will ever sail. Gratitude that their steps became your existence. And perhaps you also feel humility, realizing that survival was never guaranteed. It was a fragile achievement, renewed with each generation. So let us honor migration not only as a movement of bodies across land, but as a movement of spirit across time. The courage to leave behind the familiar, the faith to walk into the unknown, the patience to endure climates that shifted like tides, these are the qualities that shaped us. Without them, we would not be here. With them, we became a species not tied to one place, but spread across the earth, united by the common thread of survival. And as Part 7 closes, the fire of our story continues to burn. The glaciers still move in memory. The deserts still whisper with sand. The rivers still carve their paths. And we, the children of migration, rest now, in the knowledge that every step taken long ago still carries us forward tonight. The fire still flickers in our imagination. The long migrations still echo like footsteps across time. And yet as we pause now, a question begins to rise, not about tools or climates, not about food or fire, but about something deeper. What does it mean to be human? It is a question that feels both immense and intimate. Immense because it stretches across philosophy, religion, science, and art. Intimate because it touches each of us quietly when we look in a mirror or when we sit alone in the dark. Our ancestors may not have spoken the question in words as we do, but surely they felt it in their bones. They must have wondered why they could dream when other creatures could not, why they could imagine a tomorrow while animals lived only in today. Some would say that to be human is to use tools. A chipped stone, a sharpened spear, a needle made from bone, these were the first extensions of ourselves, ways of shaping the world beyond our bodies. But other animals too use tools. Birds bend twigs into hooks, apes break sticks to reach termites. So tools alone cannot define us. Others would say it is language that makes us human. The ability to shape sound into meaning, to call across the fire, to tell stories of the hunt or warnings of danger. And, yes, language is powerful. It carries memory across generations, allows knowledge to outlive the body. But even here, the line is blurred. Whales sing across oceans, wolves call to their packs, birds weave songs to court and warn. Language is not ours alone. Perhaps then, it is imagination, the ability to see what is not yet real, to picture tomorrow, to create gods and myths, to dream of futures that do not yet exist. Imagination is a fire no other creature tends in quite the same way. It allows us to carve a spear before the hunt, to build a shelter before the storm, to tell a story before the child sleeps. Imagination is survival expanded into meaning. And yet even imagination may not be enough to define us. For what use is dreaming without sharing? What use is vision without community? Perhaps to be human is to care for one another in ways that go beyond instinct. Archaeologists have found bones of ancient humans that healed after serious injury fractures that would have left someone helpless for months. The only way they survived was if others brought them food, sheltered them, waited with them. That care, that choice to protect the vulnerable is a philosophy written not in words but in action. So what does it mean to be human? Perhaps it is not one thing but a weaving of many. The spark of imagination, the thread of language, the stone of tools, the warmth of community. Alone each is fragile. Together they form the fabric of humanity. Let us pause here and breathe. Inhale and feel the weight of your own humanity. Exhale and feel the connection to those who came before. For you too carry this question within you. It lingers in your thoughts when you ask what your life means, what your purpose might be, why we are here at all. These questions are not new. They are as old as the first campfire, as ancient as the first gaze into the stars. Imagine a small group of early humans lying beneath the night sky. They see the same constellations you might see now. The moon drifts above the stars' shimmer. Did they wonder what those lights meant? Did they see gods, animals, ancestors? Did they feel small or did they feel chosen? Whatever their answers, the act of wondering itself was human. The act of looking at the infinite and asking why, and perhaps this is the heart of it to be human, is to ask questions without clear answers, to seek meaning even in the face of mystery, to know that life is fragile and short, yet to fill it with stories, songs, rituals, dreams. Other creatures live, survive, reproduce and die. Humans live, survive, reproduce and wonder. Wonder is our inheritance. Wonder is our burden and our gift. So what does it mean to be human for you tonight? As you listen in the quiet, is it the comfort of your bed made by human hands and human ingenuity? Is it the voice in your ear carrying across technology that began with fire and stone? Is it to the fact that you are reflecting at all, letting your mind stretch backward to ancestors long gone? In truth, it is all of these. You are the product of countless generations who wondered before you, who asked and asked again and who never stopped. Take another breath. Let the question rest softly in you, not as a riddle to be solved, but as a lullaby to be felt. What does it mean to be human? It means to carry questions like embers, to keep them alive even when answers fade. It means to recognize beauty in the ordinary, the warmth of fire, the taste of food, the sound of a story. It means to walk into the unknown with courage, not because we know the path, but because we must keep going. And so, as Part 8 closes, we do not end with certainty, but with openness. The question remains stretching forward and backward, like the stars above us and the earth beneath us. What does it mean to be human? Perhaps it means exactly this: to listen, to imagine, to wonder, and to rest in the mystery. We have spoken of great forces, fire, migration, imagination, the vast sweep of deep time. But survival was not only written in glaciers and stars, it was also written in the smallest of moments, the tender details of daily life that gave strength to endure. Sometimes what kept us alive was not the grand gesture, but the warmth of small things. Imagine a night long ago. The wind is cold, rattling through branches, carrying with it the cries of unseen creatures. The fire burns low. A child curls close to their mother, not only for warmth, but for comfort. The mother hums, perhaps without words, just a rhythm, a soft vibration in the chest. The child relaxes, fear dissolves. That hum is not in history books, not carved into caves, but it is survival. It is love transmuted into safety. Think too of food shared. A hunter returns, not with abundance, but with a single piece of meat, enough for only a few bites. And yet instead of keeping it, he tears it into smaller pieces, offering them to others in the circle. That choice, quiet and unseen, strengthens bonds. It tells each person, "You are not alone. I will care for you." In that gesture, survival shifts from individual struggle to collective resilience. Even now, in your own life, you know these small things. The taste of warm soup on a cold day, the feeling of a blanket tucked around your shoulders, the sound of rain outside your window when you are safe inside. None of these are dramatic, yet each one carries a quiet power. They remind you that life is not only endured, but also cherished. Let us pause here and reflect inward. What small things bring you warmth? Perhaps it is a memory of childhood, someone brushing your hair, or the smell of bread baking, or the way a pet curled at your feet. Perhaps it is something in the present moment, the softness of your pillow, the faint hum of your room, the rhythm of your own breath. These details are small, but they are not trivial. They are the fabric of survival made intimate. Our ancestors surely knew this as well. A smile across the fire, a hand reaching to help the sound of laughter breaking tension. These were not luxuries. They were lifelines. Archaeologists may never find traces of them, but they mattered as much as tools or shelters. For without emotional warmth, physical survival grows hollow. The body may endure, but the spirit withers. With warmth, however, both body and spirit thrive. Perhaps you remember a time in your own life when you were struggling and someone offered something small, a kind word, a cup of tea, a hand on your shoulder. Did it not feel like survival? Did it not give you strength to keep going? That is the same thread that carried our species across the ages. We are alive because small things mattered. Take a slow breath now. Inhale, and imagine gathering these small moments close. Exhale, and let them wrap around you like a blanket. As you do, you are honoring the warmth of small things, both ancient and present. You are reminding yourself that survival is not only about enduring storms, but also about noticing the gentle light that guides us through them. There is a kind of philosophy here, quiet but profound. To live fully is not only to chase great achievements, but also to rest in simple comforts, to recognize that the warmth of a hand, the sound of a story, the glow of a fire are enough to remind us that life, though fragile, is also tender. So tonight, as you listen, let yourself sink into gratitude for the small things, the steady rhythm of your breath, the security of your shelter, the chance to close your eyes and rest. These are not small at all when seen in the light of survival. They are the very reasons we are still here. And as part 9 draws gently to its close, let us carry this reflection forward. Humanity has always survived, not only because of great forces, but because of small kindnesses, because of warmth shared, food divided, songs sung, hands held. You too are part of that chain. Your life is stitched together by small things, and in them lies the quiet miracle of survival. Until now, we have spoken of survival as though it were inevitable fire, keeping us warm water, quenching our thirst, myths soothing our fear, kindness weaving us together. But survival was never promised. For every step forward humanity took, there were shadows of fragility and failure. Whole branches of our family tree withered and vanished, leaving only faint echoes in our DNA or none at all. To honor survival, we must also honor the truth that many did not endure. Imagine, if you can, the world 50,000 years ago. The planet was not empty. We were not alone. Across Europe and parts of Asia, the Neanderthals thrived, shorter, stockier, but strong-skilled hunters of the cold forests. Farther east, the Denisovans lived mysterious, their remains known today only from fragments of bone and tooth, and scattered across Africa and beyond were still other hominin groups, cousins in the great experiment of survival. Each had fire, each had tools, each had ways of living shaped by their land, and yet one by one most disappeared. Why? The answers are not simple. Some scientists speak of climate shifts too sudden to adapt to. Others point to competition for food and territory. Still others suggest disease or the subtle but relentless spread of our own ancestors, Homo sapiens, into their lands. Whatever the causes, the result was silence camps, abandoned hearths, gone cold voices no longer heard in the night. It is sobering to realize that we, the humans alive today, are the exception, not the rule. Many possibilities of humanity ended. Their stories are half-written manuscripts, lost chapters in the book of life. And perhaps the greatest humility we can feel is to know that survival was fragile, never guaranteed. Even within our own species, survival was uncertain. Small bands of humans lived on the edge of extinction more than once. There were times when our numbers dwindled to mere thousands, a heartbeat away from vanishing. A drought here, a volcanic eruption there, a failed migration, any could have been the end. That we endured was not destiny but chance, intertwined with resilience. Consider too the daily fragility of life. A broken bone could mean death without care. A failed hunt could mean hunger for all. A sudden storm could sweep away weeks of preparation. Each life was balanced on a knife's edge, and often the knife cut deep. Many children did not survive to adulthood. Many adults did not live long enough to see their hair turn grey. Survival was a thread, easily broken. And yet it was within this fragility that something profound was born. Perhaps it was the awareness of how easily life could vanish that made humans treasure it all the more. Perhaps it was the knowledge of failure that fueled the will to share, to care, to adapt. Fragility did not only threaten us, it shaped us. It taught us to be cautious, but also to be creative. It reminded us that endurance was precious, not ordinary. Tonight, as you rest, you may feel your own fragility. The beating of your heart, steady yet vulnerable. The rhythm of your breath, constant yet delicate. The truth that we too live lives easily altered by chance. And yet in recognizing that fragility, you may also feel a deeper appreciation for being here at all. To exist is already to be improbable. To survive is already to be extraordinary. Perhaps you have faced moments in your own life when fragility was revealed, a sickness, a loss, a sudden change. Did it not teach you something, however painful? Did it not remind you of the small strengths that kept you going? In this way, our lives mirror the long story of humanity. Fragility humbles us. Failure teaches us. And from both, resilience grows. So when we ask, what kept us alive? We must also whisper another truth many did not survive. Many paths ended. Many fires went out. We are the inheritors, not only of triumphs, but also of losses. Our survival carries within it the memory of all those who came before and did not remain. And this is not a reason for despair, but for tenderness. For it means that life is not to be taken for granted. It is to be cherished gently as one might cradle a fragile ember in cupped hands. Knowing it could vanish makes it more precious. Knowing failure was possible makes survival a quiet miracle. As Part 10 draws toward its close, let us rest in this balance. The story of humanity is both triumph and fragility, both endurance and failure. We are here not because survival was guaranteed, but because it was uncertain and yet somehow achieved. And as you drift deeper into rest, let this awareness soften you. Life is delicate, life is fleeting, and in its very fragility lies its beauty. Let us step gently now into an imagined scene, not a reconstruction from archaeology, not a chart from science, but a moment painted with the soft brush of imagination. The year does not matter, nor the exact place. What matters is the feeling of being there at the mouth of a cave on a night long ago. The fire crackles just behind you, casting its glow onto the stone walls. You sit at the edge where warmth meets cold, where light fades into shadow. Before you stretches a dark landscape, forest, river, mountain, perhaps all at once. The air carries the scent of smoke and pine mixed with the faint musk of animals passing unseen. Above, the stars are bright, more brilliant than in any modern city, sharp pinpoints of light scattered across a velvet sky. The Milky Way arches overhead, a river of silver dust flowing across eternity. Behind you, the cave is alive with murmurs. Children stir in sleep, wrapped in skins. An elder hums softly, perhaps half a song, perhaps half a prayer. The fire warms bones weary from walking, from hunting, from simply surviving another day. But here at the mouth of the cave you sit awake listening. Every sound feels amplified. The crackle of the fire, the whisper of wind through branches, the distant howl of a wolf. You know that danger lurks in the dark, and yet you feel strangely calm, as though the boundary between safety and wilderness has a beauty of its own. Imagine touching the cold stone beneath your hand. It is rough, unyielding yet steady, a reminder that the earth is older, stronger, enduring beyond you. Imagine reaching toward the fire, feeling heat lick against your skin, comforting yet fierce. In this balance of stone and flame, night and light, you feel the essence of survival. It is not comfort as you know it today, but it is enough. Now close your eyes within this imagination and listen more deeply. Somewhere in the distance, a river rushes its waters tumbling over rocks. You can almost hear it if you try steady and rhythmic a pulse through the land. To your left, the branches shift as an animal moves quietly, perhaps curious, perhaps cautious. To your right, the mountain rises dark and unmoving its presence, both protective and indifferent. The world is vast, but here you are alive within it. What thoughts pass through your mind at the cave mouth? Perhaps you wonder what tomorrow will bring, whether the hunt will succeed, whether the weather will hold, whether your people will endure. Perhaps you wonder about the stars above their cold fire so far away, and whether they watch you as you watch them. Or perhaps you wonder nothing at all, content, only to sit, to breathe, to feel alive for one more night. In this imagined scene, survival is not only about action, but about awareness. To be human is to notice the warmth of the fire, the chill of the night, the movement of the wind, the comfort of presence. To notice is to connect, to belong in the rhythm of the earth. Take a breath here in your own life. Inhale as though you are sitting at the cave mouth, drawing in the cold air of night. Exhale as though you are releasing into the warmth of firelight. Feel how even now, across thousands of years, the same rhythm exists, breath in, breath out. The cave is distant, but the experience is near. Perhaps you see yourself there not only as an observer, but as one of them. Perhaps you feel the rough fur of a cloak across your shoulders, the weight of a spear leaning nearby, the ache in your legs from walking miles. Perhaps you feel the gratitude of having survived another day, however hard, however uncertain. That gratitude is quiet, but it glows just as the fire glows. And as you rest in this scene, remember every ancestor sat at their own cave mouth, or their own clearing, or their own riverside. Each one felt the same mixture of fear and wonder. Each one carried the same fragile flame of survival forward. Tonight, you carry it too, in imagination, in memory, in breath. As part 11 draws softly to a close, let us step back from the cave mouth, but not too far. The fire is still warm, the stars still shine, the night still hums with life. You may open your eyes, or let them remain closed, but carry the feeling with you, the balance of danger and safety of darkness and light of fragility and endurance. This is what it meant to sit at the edge of survival, and what it still means to be human. At the heart of every survival story lies an image. Not a chart, not a number, not even a word, but an image so universal that it travels across time. For humanity, that image is flame. To live has always been to keep a fire burning, sometimes a literal fire, sometimes a symbolic one. And so let us linger here within this metaphor, and see how life itself can be understood as a flickering flame. Imagine once more the campfire at night. Its light stretches outward, pushing back the dark. Its warmth holds off the cold, yet look closely at the flame, it is never still. It dances, bends, leaps, shrinks. One moment it flares bright, the next it nearly dies, saved only by a breath of air or the placing of fresh wood. It is fragile, dependent on fuel, on care, on vigilance. And yet despite this fragility, it is also resilient. With the smallest ember it can be reborn. With one spark it can leap again into life. Is this not also the story of humanity? We flickered fragile in the Ice Age winds, nearly extinguished more than once. And yet we endured. We bent, but did not break. Our flame, though small, outlasted the storms. It is still burning now within each of us, passed down, like a torch across generations. Think of your own breath. Inhale and the flame grows brighter. Exhale and it softens, yet continues. Breath and fire mirror each other. To breathe is to keep a flame alive. And just as flame needs air, life needs care. Without tending, both fade. With attention, both glow. This is why the metaphor feels so natural. Life is fire, fire is life. But notice also the shadows that flame creates. Wherever there is light, there is also shadow. Humanity's survival has always meant living with this duality. Fire brought warmth, but also danger smoke, burns destruction. Life brought joy, but also suffering, loss, hunger, death. The flame never burns alone. It always shapes the dark around it. To live is to accept both glow and shadow, both comfort and fragility. Now close your eyes and imagine holding a small flame in your hands. Perhaps it is a candle steady and delicate. Perhaps it is a glowing coal red and alive. You cup your palms to shield it from the wind. You walk carefully, protecting it. This is how our ancestors carried fire across landscapes, embers wrapped in bark or ash glowing gently kept alive across miles. They knew that one spark could mean survival for the whole group. In that ember was tomorrow's meal, tomorrow's warmth, tomorrow's story, and perhaps that is what we do with life itself. We carry it forward not only for ourselves, but for those around us. Each act of kindness is like shielding the flame of another person. Each moment of courage is like feeding the fire when it falters. Each story told, each lesson passed down, is like handing the torch to the next generation. We are fire carriers, each of us, whether we realize it or not. Consider also how flames join together. A single match may light another and another, until the darkness is filled with countless points of light. In the same way, life is not solitary but communal. One person's warmth can ignite another's. One person's story can inspire another's. Our survival has always been a collective flame, never a lone spark. And yet there is humility in remembering how easily the flame can die. A sudden gust, a lack of fuel, a moment of neglect. So too with life so delicate, so easily altered. This fragility does not diminish its worth, it deepens it. To know that the flame may vanish is to treasure its glow while it lasts. To know that life is finite is to savor its warmth in the present moment. Take another slow breath. Inhale and feel the flame within you rise. Exhale and feel it soften, steady, alive. In this rhythm you join the countless generations who breathed before you, keeping their own flames alive, night after night. Your breath is their breath. Your flame is their flame. And together across time they have kept the fire of humanity burning. Metaphors have power because they speak not only to the mind but to the heart. When we say that life is a flickering flame, we are not just describing survival, we are feeling it. We are remembering nights when hope seemed small but still glowed. We are honoring the fragility that makes every moment precious. We are recognizing that endurance is not only strength, but also care, patience, and attention. So tonight, as you drift deeper into rest, hold on to this image, a flame glowing softly in the dark. It is your life, your breath, your story. It is the lives of your ancestors carried forward. It is the future waiting to be lit. Protect it, cherish it, let it warm you, and know that even in the vastness of time, even in the coldness of night, one small flame is enough. As part 12 comes to a gentle close, the metaphor lingers like embers that glow even after firewood is gone. Life is fragile. Life is resilient. Life is a flickering flame, and you are its keeper tonight. Let us step once more into imagination, this time not into the comfort of firelight, but into its absence. For if life is a flame, as we have said, then what happens when that flame is lost? To imagine the fragility of survival, we must dare to imagine the night when the fire went out. Picture the same cave mouth we visited earlier. Hours ago the fire glowed, strong fed with branches, its warmth pushing back the cold. Children had fallen asleep beside it, their faces soft in the flicker. The hunters had returned weary, but alive, their shadows long against the stone. Voices had hushed and the night felt steady, but now, silence. Only the faint hiss of embers dying, only the dark outlines of logs turning grey. The fire is gone. The air grows colder quickly. You can almost feel it, a chill creeping across the skin, seeping into bones. Breath fogs in the darkness. The warmth that once held fear at bay is no more. The cave feels larger, emptier shadows heavier. In the distance a wolf howls. It is not close, not yet, but without fire the sound cuts deeper. The line between safety and danger has blurred. What do the people do? They stir awake, whispering anxiously. Someone bends to blow on the embers, but there is no spark left to catch. Another searches for dry wood, striking stones together, praying for a spark. Each moment stretches long tense. For without fire, the night is no longer a place of rest, it is a place of threat. Imagine the children pressing closer to their mothers, eyes wide. Imagine the elders shivering, their joints aching with the cold. Imagine the hunters restless, aware that without flame, even the strongest spear feels weaker. The fire was not only warmth, it was presence, companionship, a symbol that they were not alone against the dark. Now, that symbol is gone. The group must decide, endure the night in fear or venture into the dark to find what might rekindle flame. Both choices are dangerous. To endure is to risk freezing, to risk predators creeping closer. To venture is to walk blind into forests where eyes glow unseen. Either way, the absence of fire changes everything. And so you see how fragile survival was. One flame could mean the difference between life and death. One ember, if lost, could alter the fate of a group. In this imagined scene, you feel the weight of that truth, not as data or history, but as presence. You shiver with them. You listen with them. You fear with them. Now pause and think of your own life. Have you known moments when your own fire went out? Moments when comfort vanished, when certainty crumbled, when you felt exposed to the dark? Perhaps it was loss, perhaps fear, perhaps sudden change. In those times, you too knew what it was to sit in cold silence, waiting for warmth that did not come. And yet, just as our ancestors did, you searched for sparks. You endured. You carried on until the flame returned. The metaphor widens. The fire going out is not only literal but also symbolic. It is the loss of hope, the silence of meaning, the darkness of despair. Humanity has faced this again and again, both as individuals and as communities. But in every age we have learned that the fire can return. Sparks can be coaxed from stone. Embers can be carried from a neighbour's hearth. New flames can be lit from old ashes. So while this imagined scene is heavy, it is not hopeless. It is a reminder of resilience born from fragility. The fire goes out, but the will to rekindle it remains. And perhaps that will, the refusal to surrender to cold and dark, is what most defines us. Take a slow breath now. Inhale, and imagine the cold air of the cave filling your lungs. Exhale and imagine a spark catching again, faint but alive. Feel how the body longs for warmth, longs for light. Feel how, even in imagination, you lean toward the possibility of flame. That leaning itself is survival. That longing itself is humanity. As the scene fades, imagine that the fire is lit again, whether by striking stone or by carrying embers from another group, or by sheer patience and persistence. The glow returns, faint at first, then steady. Fear eases. Cold retreats. Shadows soften. The people sigh in relief. Children drift back into sleep. Elders lean closer once more. The night has been survived. And so part 13 closes not in despair but in renewal. For even when the fire goes out, it can be rekindled. Even when survival seems fragile, it can be restored. The darkness may press in, but humanity has always found a way to bring back the light. Let us pause now at a place where science and philosophy meet. For in the dust of ancient caves, in the fragments of tools and bones, in the marks carved into stone, we find not only evidence of survival, but questions about meaning. Each discovery is both material and metaphor, both data and reflection. Each object whispers of a life once lived, and yet also invites us to wonder, what does it mean to live at all? Imagine for a moment a simple stone tool, rough, chipped its edges, sharp but uneven. Archaeologists tell us it was made perhaps 100,000 years ago, its surface worn by use. To science, it is evidence of skill of hands, shaping the natural world into something useful. To philosophy, it is more than that. It is the birth of intention. The stone did not chip itself. Someone imagined its use before it existed. Someone saw not only rock but knife. In that act of imagination, humanity stepped into a new realm, the ability to dream of what could be, and then to make it real. Now, think of a bone broken but healed. To science, it tells us that early humans cared for one another. A person with a shattered leg could not have hunted or gathered. They must have been fed, protected, carried until the bone mended. To philosophy, the bone whispers of compassion. It says that survival was not only about the strong, but also about the vulnerable who were not abandoned. In that healing bone, we see the first traces of something profound: love, as a survival strategy. And then consider the marks on cave walls, handprints, animals' shapes. Science tells us they may have been hunting rituals, teaching tools, or simply art. Philosophy wonders if they were also prayers or declarations: I was here. Imattad, iendurad. To make a mark on stone is to resist the silence of time. It is to say that life, though fleeting, deserves memory. Perhaps that desire for remembrance is one of the most human traits of all. Stonebone thought. These three threads weave together a tapestry of what it meant to be human in the earliest days. Stones reveal our capacity to create bones, reveal our capacity to care. Thoughts reveal our capacity to dream. Each is essential, and together they form a picture of survival that is both physical and spiritual. Take a breath here. Inhale as though drawing in the solidity of stone. Exhale as though releasing into the tenderness of care. Inhale again, feeling the spark of thought rise. Exhale, letting it all settle into balance. In this rhythm, you embody the same forces that shaped our ancestors: the material, the emotional, the imaginative. Science gives us answers to the how tools were made, how bones healed, how caves were painted. Philosophy asks the why. Why did humans imagine tools? Why did they choose to care? Why did they leave marks? In the space between how and why we find the deepest truths. Not certain truths, not final answers, but gentle reflections that soothe more than they solve. And perhaps you feel this interplay in your own life. You use objects every day: cups, phones, books, and each has a scientific explanation. But behind them lies intention, creativity, thought. You care for others, and science might describe the hormones involved, but philosophy reminds you of love's meaning. You leave traces, photos, words, gestures, and while science can record them, philosophy asks why you long to be remembered. You too live in the balance of stone-bone thought. Imagine once more sitting in that ancient cave. Around you lie tools scattered on the ground, bones buried in the soil, handprints fading on the walls. You pick one up, turn it in your hand. It feels heavy, solid, but what it carries is more than weight. It carries story. It carries proof that someone long ago reached for survival not only with hands but with heart and mind. And so, as part 14 unfolds, let us see survival not as a single thread, but as a weave of many. Science shows us the facts. Philosophy shows us the meanings. Together they create a harmony as steady as breathing, as ancient as the first fire. Humanity is not only a species that endures, but a species that wonders why endurance matters. As we move onward, carry this balance with you. Stone in one hand, bone in the other, thought in your heart. They are the three companions of our story, guiding us through the long night, reminding us that survival is not just existence but significance. We have walked through firelight and darkness, through myth and migration, through the fragility of bones and the wonder of thought. The story has carried us across deep time and close into the cave mouth. Now, before we move further, let us pause. Let us breathe. For survival was not only about action, it was also about rest. To stop, to inhale, to let the body and mind settle, was itself an act of endurance. Tonight we will honor that rhythm. Take a moment now to notice your own breath. You do not need to change it. Simply notice. The inhale gentle, cool, filling your chest. The exhale softer, warm, leaving your body. This is the rhythm that has always sustained you. The same rhythm kept our ancestors alive when they lay beneath stars listening to the night. Breath after breath they endured. Breath after breath you endure. Inhale once more and imagine the air entering your lungs as if it were ancient air shared across centuries. Exhale, and imagine it drifting outward, joining the long chain of breaths that connects you to those who came before. Breathing is not only biological, it is a form of memory, a quiet thread, linking all who have ever lived. Now, picture yourself lying down in the cave of long ago. The ground is hard yet warmed by firelight. Around you, others rest their breathing, blending into a gentle chorus. The wind outside whistles, but within the cave a hush has fallen. You feel safe enough to close your eyes, to surrender for a time. This is slow rest, not the sleep of exhaustion, but the pause that gives strength for tomorrow. Survival required such pauses. No group could walk endlessly, hunt endlessly, watch endlessly. Even the most vigilant hunter had to rest his eyes. Even the strongest mother had to release her child into sleep. Rest was not weakness, it was renewal. Without it, bodies faltered, minds blurred, and the flame of life dimmed. With it, the body healed. Cuts soothed muscles, calmed fears. In the quiet of rest, survival took root. Take another breath slowly. Inhale for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold gently, not straining. And now exhale for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do this once more, finding your own rhythm, your own peace. In this pattern, you are echoing the rhythm of countless ancestors who once lay under the same stars. Breath is the most ancient ritual, the one we all share. Now imagine the sounds of the night. A fire crackling softly, wood shifting as embers fall, the sigh of someone turning in sleep, the distant cry of an owl carried faintly on the wind. These sounds are not threats, but reminders the world continues while you rest. Life flows even when you release your grip. There is comfort in knowing you need not carry everything at once. Perhaps as you listen, you notice tension in your body, the tightness of shoulders, the heaviness of eyes, the weight of thoughts that circle. Let them soften piece by piece. With each exhale, release something. A worry, a memory, a strain. Imagine placing them down beside the fire, where they will wait until morning. Tonight you need only to breathe, only to rest. Our ancestors too must have carried worries, the uncertainty of food, the threat of predators, the fear of storms, and yet they found ways to release them enough to rest. They trusted one another, keeping watch in turns. They trusted the fire to hold back the night. They trusted their own endurance to face tomorrow. That trust, fragile but real, is why we are here. They rested, and in their rest they survived. Take another slow breath. Inhale, filling your lungs, expanding your chest. Exhale, letting it all drift away. Feel your body grow heavier against the bed or chair or ground beneath you. Feel the earth holding you steady and patient. You do not need to do anything more in this moment. Survival right now means rest. And in this rest, something beautiful happens. The mind begins to drift. Thoughts soften, becoming less like words and more like images. A spark of firelight here. A whisper of wind there, a memory rising like mist. Do not chase them. Simply let them pass as clouds pass across the sky. Rest is not emptiness. It is space for gentle wandering. In this breathing space, survival is redefined. It is not only enduring hunger or braving storms, it is allowing yourself to be small, to be still, to be part of the larger rhythm of life. The river flows without you steering it. The stars shine without you watching them. The earth turns without you pushing it. You are allowed to rest within it, all carried by the same forces that carried your ancestors. As part 15 draws softly toward its close, let us seal this breathing space with gratitude. Gratitude for breath, steady and faithful. Gratitude for rest, simple yet profound. Gratitude for the countless generations who, by breathing and resting in their own time, allowed us to exist in ours. Tonight, your rest continues that lineage. Tonight, your breath keeps the flame alive. We have traveled far together through the glow of the first fires, through the shifting ice and deserts, through myths whispered in caves and bones that healed with care. Each part has shown us a fragment, a single thread in the tapestry of survival. Now it is time to weave them gently together, not into a final answer, but into a fabric that honors the whole. This is not a hard conclusion, but a soft synthesis, a gathering of threads into the shape of a story. Imagine a loom stretched across time. Each thread is fragile on its own, thin and breakable. Fire is one thread glowing orange. Water is another shimmering blue. Shelter, food, migration, myth, compassion, each adds its own color. If you pull anyone away, the fabric weakens. But together, woven across generations, they form something strong enough to endure. Humanity's survival was never the gift of one element alone. It was the harmony of many intertwined. Science has shown us the material threads. Archaeologists uncover stones shaped by human hands. Paleontologists read the climate shifts in layers of ice and soil. Geneticists trace the branching of our DNA, showing how small groups spread and mixed across continents. Each finding is a thread of fact grounding us in what is known. But alongside science, myth, and philosophy bring their threads too. Stories remind us of the meaning woven into survival, why fire felt divine, why rivers felt sacred, why animals became symbols of gods and ancestors. Philosophy asks what it means to imagine, to care, to wonder. These threads do not explain survival as data, but they reveal survival as experience. Without them, the fabric would be factual but empty. And then there are the threads of the personal, the smallest details, a hand reaching out, a song hummed to a child, a meal shared among hungry mouths. These are the threads so fine they rarely survive in the archaeological record, yet they are perhaps the strongest of all. For without compassion, the flame would not have been carried forward. Without love, survival would have been hollow. Take a moment now to imagine this fabric of survival draped across your own shoulders like a cloak woven by countless ancestors. You feel the warmth of fire within it, the coolness of water, the steadiness of stone, the tenderness of care. You are wrapped in the same survival that wrapped them. It does not separate past from present, but binds them together. Inhale slowly as though drawing these threads closer. Exhale softly as though releasing them into memory. Each breath is another stitch connecting you to the great weave of life. The act of resting here tonight is itself a continuation of survival's fabric. You do not need to add anything more. Simply by existing, you are part of it. Let us look again at the motifs we have gathered. Fire, the small sun humanity carried into the night. Water, the river that guided migrations. Shelter, the walls that gave safety and rest. Food, the nourishment that turned struggle into strength. Myth, the stories that turned fear into meaning. Philosophy, the questions that gave depth to existence. Compassion, the choice to care, to heal, to share. Each motif is simple, yet together they are extraordinary. And perhaps this is the quiet lesson of synthesis. Survival is not about one heroic act, but about many ordinary ones repeated across generations. No single ancestor carried humanity forward. It was the combined breath of all their tending of fires, their sharing of food, their telling of stories that allowed us to be here. We are alive because ordinary lives, countless and forgotten, were woven together. Think of your own life now. What are the threads you carry? Perhaps it is the warmth of your family, the memory of a teacher, the kindness of a friend. Perhaps it is the comfort of a song, the strength of a belief, the rhythm of your own breath. These too are threads of survival, unique, but connected to the same fabric. You are not separate from history. You are a continuation of it. As you rest, feel the weight of that truth, not as a burden but as comfort. You do not need to hold the whole fabric alone. It holds you. It wraps around you steady and patient like the earth itself. All you are asked to do is to breathe, to rest, to keep your small flame alive. That is enough. And so, as part 16 closes, the threads are gathered, woven softly into a picture of survival. Not complete, not final, but whole enough for tonight. Tomorrow we will step toward the threshold of ending, carrying this cloak of threads with us. But for now, let it settle around your shoulders, warm and gentle. Let it remind you that survival is not only science, not only myth, not only philosophy. It is the weaving of all stitched together by breath and time. The story of humanity has carried us across darkness and light, through fragility and endurance, through science and myth and quiet reflection. Now we stand at a threshold. Behind us are the caves and fires of the past. Before us is the long dawn of tomorrow. It is not an abrupt change, but a gentle crossing like stepping from shadow into early light. Let us linger here on the threshold and feel what it means to move forward. Picture an ancient group of humans at daybreak. They have survived the night, the fire still glowing, faintly embers pulsing like hidden stars in the ashes. The cold has not claimed them. Hunger waits, but they are alive to face it. As the first streaks of sunlight brush the horizon, they rise slowly. Some stretch stiff limbs, some gather wood, some prepare to walk again. The night is behind them, but its lessons remain that life is fragile, that warmth must be shared, that tomorrow is possible only because yesterday was endured. To cross a threshold is always to carry something with you. Our ancestors carried fire stones, water children's stories. Each step into the unknown was made with memory tied close. They did not abandon the past, but wove it into their future. And so do we. The questions we have asked, the reflections we have gathered, they are embers we carry as we step into what comes next. Take a slow breath. Inhale as though gathering the warmth of all that has come before. Exhale as though releasing into the openness of tomorrow. Each breath is a crossing, a movement from what was to what will be. And in this rhythm you feel that crossing is not abrupt, but constant. Every moment you step into a new threshold, another tomorrow, another chance. The threshold is not only about time, but about meaning. To survive yesterday is to face today with renewed wonder. To endure one night is to believe in the possibility of another dawn. Perhaps this is what it means to cross, to let the hardships of the past become the wisdom of the future. A broken bone healed becomes proof of care. A story told becomes guidance for the next generation. A fire kept alive becomes the courage to move onward. Imagine yourself now standing with them at the cave mouth facing east. The horizon glows faintly pink and gold. The stars fade, but a few linger, reluctant to leave. The air is crisp, filled with the scent of earth and smoke. You take a step forward, your feet pressing into soil damp with dew. Behind you is darkness, ahead of you is light. You are crossing the threshold not into certainty but into possibility. In your own life, you have crossed thresholds too. The shift from childhood to adulthood, the move from one place to another, the change from fear into courage, from loss into renewal. Each crossing carried uncertainty, perhaps even pain, and yet each crossing also carried the seed of growth. You are who you are because you stepped forward even when the way was unclear. Humanity itself is a series of thresholds, from caves to villages, from stone tools to bronze, from wandering bands to settled communities. Each step forward was a crossing marked not only by invention but by reflection, not only by survival but by meaning, and each crossing was fragile. Many could have failed. Some did fail. But enough succeeded to bring us here to this night, to this breath. The beauty of the threshold is that it honors both what is behind and what is ahead. It does not erase the past but carries it forward. It does not guarantee the future but opens its door. To cross a threshold is to accept uncertainty and still continue. That perhaps is the truest definition of hope. Take another breath now. Inhale, feeling the weight of all that has brought you here. Exhale, feeling the openness of all that awaits. The threshold is beneath your feet in this very moment. You are standing upon it, carried by countless lives, before you stepping gently toward countless lives after you. And as part 17 draws to a close, let us leave the cave not in haste but in reverence. The fire glows faintly behind, the horizon glows faintly ahead. Between them stands humanity, between them stand you. The threshold is not a wall but a bridge, and tonight we cross it together toward tomorrow, toward the unknown, toward the continuation of the story. We have walked a long way together, from the first sparks of fire to the whispers of myth, from the fragility of bones to the strength of compassion, from the vast ages of deep time to the small details of a shared meal. Each part of this journey has been a thread woven into the fabric of survival. And now, as we near the end, we pause not to close the story, but to open it wider. For survival has never been a finished tale. It is, and always will be, an endless story. Imagine for a moment the faces of those who came before us. Not kings or conquerors, not names etched in books, but the nameless ones. The mothers who soothed children by the fire, the hunters who returned, empty-handed, but still shared what they had. The elders who told stories with voices rough, but steady. Their lives were brief, Their struggles immense, yet they are the reason you breathe tonight. Their survival is your survival. Their story flows into yours. And yet the story does not stop with you. Just as countless ancestors carried the flame forward, you too carry it, passing it along in ways you may not even notice. In kindness offered to a friend, in love shared with family, in stories told to those younger than you. The flame continues flickering from hand to hand, breath to breath, generation to generation. What does this mean for us tonight? It means that survival is not a single achievement locked in the past. It is not something our ancestors completed and handed to us like a finished gift. It is a living process unfolding still. Every dawn is another beginning. Every breath is another continuation. The story of survival is not written in stone. It is written in air, in memory, in imagination. Perhaps you wonder what tomorrow will bring for you, for humanity, for the earth itself. The truth is, no one knows. Our ancestors faced the same uncertainty, standing at the edge of deserts or glaciers, asking the same silent questions. Will we endure? Will we find enough? Will tomorrow be kind? They had no guarantees, and neither do we. But still they walked forward. And so do we. The endlessness of survival is not a curse, but a gift. It means there is always more to live, more to wonder, more to become. Take a slow breath here. Inhale, feeling the weight of all the past pressing gently behind you. Exhale, feeling the openness of the future stretching before you. Between the two lies this moment, your threshold, your place in the story. You are both an ending and a beginning, both the heir of survival and its caretaker. Let us imagine now that the fire is still burning. Not only the fire in the cave, not only the fire in myth, but the fire within you. Its glow may be small, but it is steady. Around it the story continues. Children laugh, elders hum, stars shine, the earth turns. Tomorrow waits, and the fire remains, asking only to be tended, not for eternity, but for one more night, one more day, one more step. An open ending does not mean absence, it means possibility. It means that the story of humanity is still being written line by line, moment by moment. You are part of that writing whether you know it or not. Your life, your choices, your kindness, your breath, they are sentences in the endless book of survival. And so, as we leave this part of the journey, do not seek a final answer. Let the question remain. What kept us alive? Let it echo softly, not as a puzzle to be solved, but as a lullaby to rest within. For the question itself is part of survival, part of what it means to be human, to wonder, to ask, to keep searching. As you rest, now let the story continue in your dreams. Perhaps you will see fires burning in caves. Perhaps you will walk across ancient rivers. Perhaps you will hear voices telling myths beneath a sky full of stars. Or perhaps you will simply sleep, and that too will be survival. That too will be enough. And so part 18 leaves us not with a conclusion but with an invitation to carry the flame gently, to honor the past tenderly, to step into tomorrow hopefully, for survival is not finished. It is endless, fragile, beautiful. It is the story we share, the story we live, the story that continues as long as breath does. We have traveled together through the long arc of humanity's beginnings, fire glowing in caves, migrations across ice and desert myths whispered into the night, fragile bones healing small kindnesses shared. We have not rushed but walked slowly, pausing, often breathing deeply, letting each fragment settle like ash on embers. And now we arrive here near the close. But even an ending is not really an end. It is a soft place to pause, a space for invitation. The story you have listened to is not only mine to tell, it is ours to hold. Each word has been shaped for you, the listener lying now in your bed, in your chair, in your own quiet corner of the world, and perhaps you have felt the rhythm of survival echo in your own breath. Perhaps you have seen images flicker in your mind's eye, sparks of fire, rivers winding stars burning over an endless horizon. If you have, then you are already part of this circle, already sitting at the fire with us. But stories like fires are warmer when shared. The embers glow brighter when more voices gather around them. And so my invitation is simple, gentle, without demand. If this journey has brought you comfort, if it has helped you breathe more easily, if it has reminded you of the quiet miracle of survival, then consider keeping this fire alive. You may return to listen again. You may share it with another who seeks calm. You may leave behind your own reflection like a handprint on the wall, a mark that says, I was here. I listened. I too am part of this story. Take a breath here. Inhale the warmth of the fire we have built together. Exhale the gratitude of being alive in this moment. As you do, think of the countless lives that carried us here, the countless breaths that came before yours. You are one among many, but your presence matters. Your listening matters. Your rest matters. If you wish, you can let others know you are part of this circle. Leave a comment, a thought, a memory. Tell where you are listening, from what city, what time, what season. These details, small though they seem, weave a community across distance, just as ancient fires once linked groups across valleys and mountains. To know that another is listening somewhere else, under different stars, is to feel less alone. Or if you prefer, you can simply carry the story quietly, holding it close. You do not need to speak to be part of this circle. Silence, too, is a form of belonging. Rest, too, is a gift to the community. However you choose, the fire continues. And perhaps you feel a small stirring of gratitude. Gratitude not only for the story, but for yourself, for giving yourself the gift of rest, for choosing to slow down in a world that moves so quickly. Survival today may not mean carrying embers across frozen plains, but it still means caring for the flame within. It means making space for breath, for reflection, for gentleness. You have done that tonight. That is enough. So here is the invitation whispered softly. If this circle brings you peace, let it be a place you return to. If this story reminds you of your own, let it inspire you to share it. If the fire has warmed you, let its light extend to others, not as obligation, but as gift. For the story is not mine alone, nor yours alone. It is ours, endless, alive. Take another slow breath. Inhale and feel the fire's glow. Exhale and let it drift outward, reaching others unseen. Each breath is both personal and communal. Each breath keeps the flame alive. As part 19 closes, know this: you are welcome here always. You are part of this long survival, this endless story. Your listening is enough, your breath is enough, your presence is enough. If you wish to walk with us again, you may. If you wish to share the fire, you may. If you wish only to rest, that too is enough. The invitation remains gentle and open, like the fire itself, waiting, glowing, patient. The fire burns low now, embers glowing softly, the circle of light smaller but steady. We have walked through many nights together, through questions and myths, through the tenderness of survival and the fragility of failure. Tonight we stand at the edge of a new beginning. For survival, as we have seen, was never only about the individual. It was about sharing warmth, sharing food, sharing stories. And from that sharing came something new, something greater than fire or tools alone: community. Imagine the moment when small groups of humans, once scattered and wandering, began to linger longer in one place. Perhaps it was by a river rich with fish. Perhaps it was near fertile soil where seeds dropped by chance began to grow. Perhaps it was simply the comfort of returning to the same cave season after season, leaving behind marks and memories. Whatever the reason, people gathered. Not only families, but families of families. Circles widened, bonds deepened, lives intertwined. This was the birth of community, the recognition that survival was stronger together than apart. Fire became hearth. Food became feast. Shelter became village. Stories became traditions. What had once been fragile threads woven by individuals began to braid into something thicker, stronger, more enduring. Take a breath here slowly. Inhale as though drawing in the warmth of many fires joined together. Exhale as though releasing into the open air of shared voices. In this rhythm, you can almost feel what it meant to belong not just to a family but to a larger whole. Safety was no longer the duty of one but the gift of many. Science tells us that the move toward community reshaped everything. Cooperation allowed for larger hunts, more reliable food, more complex shelters. Division of labor meant some gathered while others crafted, some hunted while others watched children. The burdens of survival grew lighter when carried together. But beyond science lies meaning. Community gave humans a sense of belonging, of identity, of continuity. To live within community was to know you were part of something greater, a story that would continue after you. Imagine a small settlement at dusk, fires glowing not in one place, but many scattered across a clearing. The air smells of smoke and cooking meat. Children run between shelters, their laughter echoing. Elders sit together trading stories, their voices weaving memory into song. The night is still dangerous. Wolves prowl, storms threaten, but within the circle of many fires, fear lessens. Here, together, survival feels not only possible but certain. Perhaps you feel this echo in your own life. The warmth of friends gathered around a table, the comfort of neighbors' lights glowing in windows nearby, the quiet assurance that others walk the same path, face the same storms. To be human is to long for community, to build it again and again in caves, in villages, in cities, even across the invisible threads of the digital world. Take another breath. Inhale the thought of belonging. Exhale the release of solitude. You are not alone, not truly. You are part of the same long arc that began when our ancestors first joined fires and built circles of trust. And so, as part 20 closes, we leave not with an ending but with an opening. For the next story will carry us into this birth of community, into the first villages, the first rituals, the first sense that survival was more than staying alive. It was living together, dreaming together, enduring together. Tonight, rest in the glow of that promise. Tomorrow, we will step deeper into the circle, into the beginnings of society, into the shared heart of what it means to be human. The fire is still burning. The circle is still open. The story is still unfolding.